It's shaping up to be a busy weekend out on the water. Arkansas State Park shared with me some safety tips. We'll share those coming up.
In terms of rain chances over the next week or so, they're very isolated. Not everyone's going to see it. Most of us stay dry, but they're certainly there. We'll talk about how that may impact 4th of July plans coming up.
Plus, House Republicans clear a key hurdle as debate begins on the president's massive spending bill and before the July 4th deadline.
A live look outside in Bentonville here on this Thursday. We're ready for 4th of July.
Five News This Morning starts now.
Well, I guess we just got one more day and then it's here. We're celebrating, making plans. What are you guys doing?
I am going to Texas. One of my friends lives on the lake, so gonna go be on the lake. What about y'all?
I don't know. You gonna take in a fireworks show?
Probably, but unfortunately, I got to work Saturday morning, so I don't know how late I'll be out.
Oh.
But we'll see.
You can power through for one day. You'll be fun. Done
Yeah.
it many times.
I would say you may have done it many times. I have done it a few times, but I like my sleep, so we'll see.
But for the 4th, it's gonna be hard to sleep with fireworks going off
I was gonna
anyway.
say, thankfully my apartment has already said, complex has said no fireworks. I don't
But
know.
you'll hear them all around.
Oh, I know.
I
Tiffany.
lived in that apartment complex.
I would say hopefully the earbuds will come in handy. But yeah, maybe I'll see one of the fireworks show for about an hour and then go back to bed. Right now, nothing really too crazy going on. Thankfully, no nature's fireworks, at least in our area. Fort Smith, 75 degrees. You can see pretty overcast skies there. Maybe a few peaks of that blue sky peeking out this morning. 72 for that dew point. So it is a lot muggier in the river valley than it is in northwest Arkansas. And so that's going to be the theme for today. Is going to be a little bit more cloudy, a little bit more muggy, and maybe a better rain chance in the river valley than compared to northwest Arkansas. You saw the camera there in Bentonville, more sunshine, a little bit more comfortable with the dew points, and probably could be as warm, if not warmer, than the river valley. You're seeing those showers and a few rumbles of thunder, but notice again, as it's moving eastward, notice, kind of watch this cell right here. You notice those dark reds turning orange. It's hitting a little bit of that high pressure off to our east. So we still could see some of this make its way into southern LaFleur County as well as portions of Scott County, but it is tapering off as it gets here. So I don't expect it to be area wide. It'll be spotty, especially for areas to the south, but the chance is there for this morning for the river valley, especially south of I-40, and then maybe a potential of redevelopment later this afternoon. For northwest Arkansas, I think we'll see plenty of sunshine during the morning. Then we could see maybe a few more clouds roll in during the afternoon. Now, of course, everyone's looking ahead to tomorrow and just throughout the weekend. It does look like we have some storm chances for us during the day tomorrow, especially during the afternoon and early evening. But by sunset, when those fireworks shows start, things look a little bit more dry, but maybe a spotty shower or two. We'll go into further detail about that here coming up in your full forecast. For now, we'll take a look at traffic here. We'll go along I-49 at Ajax Avenue. Good morning to you there. Traffic starting to pick up on this Thursday morning, and nothing too shabby looking out there. Nice, beautiful sunrise there as we embark on our Thursday. Again, we'll have the complete forecast, the complete 4th of July forecast coming up in just a little bit. Joe and Tiffany.
All right, thanks for that, Danny. Well, breaking in Chicago, a mass shooting outside a nightclub has left at least 3 people dead and 16 injured.
Yeah, police say this happened Wednesday night. This was in a drive-by shooting. Total of 19 people were shot. Of course, the investigation is underway this morning. They say this was the same block also of the scene of a mass shooting back in 2022 with 1 person killed and 3 wounded almost 3 years ago. Of course, as the story develops, we'll bring you the latest here on 5 News. All right, back to our top story this morning. 4th of July, just hours away, I guess you could say, technically. Many Arkansans are already making plans to spend it on the water. But before you head out, a few lake and safety checks. Officials are giving us just a few tips today.
Yeah, 5 News reporter Jacob Luthi is live in Springdale. And Jacob, boat safety is a major focus heading into this holiday weekend. Good morning.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, this is set to be one of the busiest weekends out on the water, maybe Memorial Day, Labor Day weekend, but this is the 4th of July weekend. This is supposed to be a very fun weekend, a very busy weekend on the Arkansas State's lakes and the rivers. And look, last year, Arkansas State Parks Heritage and Tourism told me that they had 50 million tourists here in the state. So if that's any indication of, one weekend of the busiest weekend, there's going to be a lot of people out here, a lot of people swimming, and of course, a lot of people on boats. And so they shared some safety tips with me to make sure that we are celebrating and staying safe as well. Now, first, they mentioned that, alcohol and boating don't mix well. it's more than just about the law. While operating a boat under the influence is illegal, the bigger risk is what can happen when judgment is impaired, not just to yourself, but to loved ones and to others on the water. Officials also remind lake goers to stick to those designated swim areas. In many Arkansas lakes, those areas are marked by bright orange buoys, making it clear to boaters where they should steer clear. Staying within those marked zones helps protect swimmers from boats and usually means a safer, clear lake bottom as well, because those buoys sometimes are also there if there's debris, if there's storm damage, if there's stuff left over from the storms that we've had this past spring. And Kayla Goman, she's the Assistant Chief of Interpretation for Arkansas Parks. She adds that life jackets as well saves lives.
Children are legally required to wear them while they're boating. If folks are on jet skis or they are skiing and that sort of thing, everyone's got to have one on, buckled up safely. I want people to know that there are a lot of different options and styles of life jackets out there. And the best one is the kind that you will wear and keep you comfortable.
Yeah, such an important point, right? The best kind of life jacket is the one that you're going to put on. It's the one that you feel comfortable in. It's the one that's going to keep you the most safe. It's so important to wear that. Look, I'm trying to get on a boat this weekend, right? I'm trying to celebrate and have a great Independence Day weekend, but safety always comes first. Make sure you're doing so safely out there this weekend, and I'm going to go ahead and send it back to you.
All right, if you find a boat out there, Tiffany and I want an invitation.
Yeah, we're still looking for those friends, Jacob.
All right, thanks for that. Well, depending on the town, there could be firework restrictions where you live. Some places, like the Buffalo River, outright bans them, with Park Services looking for violators and then finding them. We have an interactive article on the restrictions near you. You can find it at 5newsonline.com.
There you can also find fireworks shows in the city where you live, both in Northwest Arkansas and the River Valley.
Well, the Choctaw Nation's annual Boom in the Valley fireworks show has been canceled after a fire broke out during the event's setup. They say 5 people were injured on the Capitol grounds while organizers were preparing for the show. That show was supposed to be tonight in Tuskahoma. Now an investigation is underway to determine the cause of the accident.
Well, state public safety officials are preparing to face tough questions about convicted murderer Grant Hardin's prison escape.
Yeah, a date is now set for them to publicly address how the escape happened and what changes are being made to prevent it from happening again. Hardin managed to walk out of the Calico Rock Center wearing a fake law enforcement uniform. 7 top corrections officials, including the state prison director and the warden, will testify before lawmakers next week.
Yeah, federal and state search teams caught the escaped rapist and killer 2 weeks later, just a mile from the prison. Well, looking ahead, a case that sparked national attention is reaching Fort Smith. Gabby Petito's mother, Nicole Schmidt, is set to speak at the Fort Smith Marshals Museum later this month for their True Crime Tonight speaker series. She will talk about her daughter's 2021 disappearance and murder during a cross-country trip with her boyfriend. The event is set for Friday, July 25th at 6 p.m.
Meanwhile, the city of Fayetteville is taking the next steps in its active transportation plan. Now, the goal is to create a more connected, accessible trail system, giving people alternatives to driving. In the 8 years since Fayetteville's current active transportation plan was enacted, leaders say the city has seen some major progress. Today, 82% of people already live within 10-minute walk or a bike ride of 2 minutes from a trail. By 2040, the city wants that number to be 100%.
Allowing people to safely walk to the store, bike to school, those sorts of things make not just the quality of life better in Fayetteville, but help us meet the variety of transportation needs, because people have different demands. They want choices. They don't want to have to only be relying on one mode of transportation for every trip.
With 55 miles of shared use paved trails, city leaders say the goal is more than just distance. They want real connectivity, especially for residents with disabilities who rely on consistent trail access.
Well, this morning, healthcare providers are sounding the alarm over major proposed changes to Arkansas's Medicaid program.
Yeah, they warned these changes could disrupt coverage for thousands of vulnerable patients and strain local clinics already stretched thin. The Arkansas Nurses Association spent part of last week lobbying against the Medicaid plans in the bill. It calls for new work requirements and a freezing on something called provider taxes.
Both will affect hospital budgets and the nurses who work in those hospitals.
Roughly a third of our state is on Medicaid and stand to potentially be affected by any kind of cuts. And some of the cuts could be something as simple as they're putting a pause on some of the provider taxes, meaning there's no increase. We may see providers shut their doors. We may see hospitals shut their doors because financially they just can no longer survive.
Well, the House voted Wednesday to begin debate on a bill proposing Medicaid cuts. More details are expected as the discussions are underway. Well, Fort Smith nonprofit is starting to feel a slight pinch of state and federal grant cutbacks. The Crisis Intervention Center has gone from more than $650,000 a year in a Victims Crime Act grant to less than $200,000. Executive Director Penny Burns says that these cuts don't have anything to do with recent DOJ decisions. She says it all has to do with less money being collected into that victims grant.
There's no tax dollars involved in VOCA. It's all search and seizure money, fine money from court systems that's put in there. So it's redistributed to the states on a per capita level. So of course Arkansas loses out sometimes because we don't have the same type of population base that some of the larger states have.
Burns says the VOCA fund formula hasn't changed in over 30 years. With less money coming in, she hopes that it will be updated soon for fair distribution.
Well, a marathon vote on the House floor finally closing after several Republicans switched to yes votes early this morning. House Speaker Mike Johnson says he's optimistic that the GOP's massive tax and spending bill could pass as soon as today. The nearly 900-page package preserves the 2017 Trump tax cuts, adds tax relief for tips and overtime pay, and boosts border and defense funding. It also faces criticism for adding trillions to the deficit and cutting health and nutrition programs for low-income Americans, an issue for some moderates in the GOP and for House Democrats.
Every single House Democrat will vote hell no against this one big, ugly bill.
House Speaker Mike Johnson says that President Trump is making calls this morning after he already met with some GOP members at the White House yesterday in a mad dash to get the bill across the finish line by July 4th.